The crystal chandeliers of the Riverside Grand Hotel cast dancing light across tables draped in white linen. Victoria Ashford stood near the bar in her red evening gown, feeling like an imposter in her own life. At 34, she had attended 100 charity galas just like this one, but tonight something felt different, hollow. She was scanning the crowd of familiar faces wearing familiar smiles when she felt a hand slide possessively around her waist. "There you are, darling." Brandon Caldwell's cologne arrived before his words did. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Victoria stepped sideways, breaking contact. "I needed some air." Brandon was the son of her father's business partner. Handsome in an obvious way. Wealthy in a way that made him believe the world owed him whatever he wanted. For 6 months he had been pursuing her with the same determination he applied to hostile takeovers. "Your father and mine are discussing the merger," Brandon said, moving closer again. "It would mean a lot to both families if you and I presented a united front tonight." There it was, the unspoken arrangement that had been building for months. Merge the families, merge the fortunes. Never mind what Victoria wanted. "I'm not interested in being anyone's united front," she said quietly. Brandon's smile thinned. "Don't be difficult, Victoria. You know how these things work." Before she could respond, a quiet voice spoke from behind her. "Excuse me, I think the lady asked for space." Victoria turned to find a man in a simple black button-down shirt standing there with 2 glasses of champagne. He was handsome in an understated way, with dark hair and green eyes that held steady on Brandon. There was something grounded about his presence. Real in a way that felt foreign in this room full of performance. "And you are?" Brandon's tone could have frozen water. "James Riley." The man offered one of the champagne glasses to Victoria with a slight smile. "You look like you could use this." She took it more out of surprise than thirst. Brandon stepped between them. "Mr. Riley, I don't know what restaurant you wandered in from, but this is a private event. I suggest you find your way back to the kitchen." The words landed like a slap. Victoria saw James's jaw tighten, but his expression remained calm. "I'm here with the Hartwell Foundation," James said evenly, as their guest. "The Hartwell Foundation brings interesting company these days," Brandon sneered. "Look, I'm sure you're very good at whatever it is you do, but the lady and I are having a private conversation." James looked past Brandon directly at Victoria. "Are you?" It was a simple question, but it gave her something she rarely experienced. A choice. Victoria met his eyes and made a decision that surprised even herself. "Actually, no, we were just finishing." Brandon's face flushed. "Victoria, don't be ridiculous. She asked you to leave her alone." James's voice remained quiet, but something shifted in his posture. "I think you should respect that." The confrontation was drawing attention now. Heads turned at nearby tables. Brandon's hand moved toward Victoria's arm, but James stepped smoothly between them. "She's with me," James said. 3 simple words delivered without aggression, but with absolute certainty. The ballroom seemed to hold its breath. Brandon looked between them, his face darkening. "Do you have any idea who you're talking to? Who she is?" "I know exactly who she is," James replied. "The question is, do you?" For a long moment, no one moved. Then Brandon forced a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. "This is absurd. Victoria's father will hear about this." "I'm sure he will," Victoria said, finding her voice. "Good night, Brandon." She watched him stalk away through the glittering crowd, then turned to the stranger who had just upended her entire evening. "Thank you," she said. "But you didn't have to do that. Brandon's family has connections that could make your life difficult." James shrugged. "I've had difficult before. I can handle it. Still, I'm grateful." She studied him curiously. "The Hartwell Foundation?" "I run an after-school program for kids in Riverside," James explained. "Arts and tutoring mostly. The foundation helps fund us. They give me a ticket to this thing every year, and I come to make them feel good about their donation." He smiled self-consciously. "I usually stand by the appetizer table trying not to spill anything on myself." Victoria laughed, and it felt like the first genuine sound she'd made all evening. "That's exactly where I'd rather be. These events are exhausting." "You hide it well," James said, then added more quietly, "but I saw your face when that guy put his hand on you. You looked trapped." The observation startled her with its accuracy. I am." She gestured at the room. All of this. My whole life sometimes feels like a performance I never auditioned for. James was quiet for a moment. My daughter tells me the same thing. She's 7. She thinks she has to be perfect all the time because she lost her mom and doesn't want me to worry. His voice softened. I keep trying to tell her it's okay to just be herself. You're raising her alone? 3 years now. Her mother passed from cancer when Lily was 4. James looked down at his champagne glass. Some days I have no idea what I'm doing, but we figure it out together. There was no self-pity in his words, just honest vulnerability. Victoria found herself wanting to know more about this man who worked with children and faced down billionaires without blinking. Would you like to get some actual food? She asked impulsively. I know a diner about 10 minutes from here that serves the best pie in the state. My treat for the rescue. James raised an eyebrow. You want to leave your own charity gala? It's not mine, it's my father's. And yes, absolutely I want to leave. She was already moving toward the exit, feeling lighter than she had in months. Are you coming? They slipped out through the hotel's side entrance into the cool October night. Victoria's red dress looked absurd next to James's simple shirt, but she didn't care. They walked to her car, laughing about their escape like teenagers ditching prom. The diner was exactly as she remembered. Red vinyl booths and a jukebox that only played songs from the 70s. They ordered coffee and apple pie and talked until the night shift waitress started giving them meaningful looks. James told her about Lily's obsession with dinosaurs and her determination to become a paleontologist astronaut. Victoria shared stories about her childhood when her father was still building his empire and had time for tea parties and bedtime stories. What happened? James asked gently. Success, I suppose, Victoria said. The company grew, the money grew, and somewhere along the way I became an asset to manage instead of a daughter to love. She paused. That sounds ungrateful, doesn't it? It sounds lonely. Those 2 words cracked something open inside her. Victoria found herself blinking back tears in a diner booth across from a man she'd met 3 hours ago. I'm sorry, she said. I don't usually fall apart in public. James reached across the table and took her hand. His palm was warm and calloused. Real. You're not falling apart, he said. You're just being honest. There's a difference. They sat like that for a long moment. Then Victoria's phone buzzed. 14 missed calls, 27 text messages, all from her father. I should get you home, James said, reading her expression. I don't want to go home, I know, but tomorrow will be easier if you face it on your own terms. He was right, of course. They drove back through empty streets and he walked her to her building entrance. Under the soft glow of the lobby lights, Victoria turned to face him. Thank you, James, for tonight, for seeing me. Can I see you again? He asked. No chandeliers, no pretense, just coffee and conversation. Victoria thought about Brandon's fury and her father's expectations. She thought about the safe, predictable path laid out before her. Then she looked at this single father who had stepped between her and a bully without hesitation. Yes, she said. I'd like that very much. James smiled and it transformed his whole face. Saturday afternoon. I'll bring Lily. Fair warning, she'll want to show you her entire rock collection. I can't wait. As she rode the elevator to her penthouse, Victoria checked her reflection in the mirrored walls. Her carefully styled hair was coming loose and her lipstick had long since faded. She looked younger somehow, more alive. Her phone rang the moment she stepped into her apartment. Her father's name flashed on the screen. Hello, Dad. Where have you been? Brandon said you left with some nobody. Do you have any idea how that looked? Victoria walked to her window overlooking the glittering city. It looked like I was with someone who actually cares what I think. This isn't a game, Victoria. The Caldwell merger is your priority, Dad, not mine. She ended the call and turned off her phone. On Saturday, she met James and Lily at the park. The little girl with dark curls and her father's green eyes showed Victoria every rock in her backpack, explaining their geological significance with passionate authority. James watched them both with quiet joy. This wasn't the life Victoria had planned. But maybe she thought as Lily grabbed her hand to show her the best climbing tree, maybe it was the life she'd been searching for all along. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let someone stand beside you and say she's with me. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments about a time when someone stood up for you when you needed it most. Your stories matter.